I finally decided to leave my wife after nearly a decade of no intimacy, emotionally empty marriage. Then her mom was moved to palliative care, and now everything has completely fallen apart. My wife is 38, I'm 41, and we've been together for almost 19 years. We met back in college, and from that point on, we were basically inseparable. It's one of those stories that probably sounds familiar. Young, in love, figuring life out together. The first few years were incredible. Everything felt easy, natural, like we had found exactly what we were supposed to have. Then life happened. We moved in together, started building a life, went through the usual ups and downs. Careers, stress, responsibilities, nothing unusual, just the normal progression of a long-term relationship. Over time, things shifted, but I never really questioned it too deeply. It felt like this was just what long-term relationships looked like. We ended up getting married during COVID. At the time, it felt like the perfect excuse to avoid a big wedding and just make it official without all the stress. Looking back now, I can see that there were already cracks forming in our relationship even then. But I ignored them. Or maybe I convinced myself they weren't important. I honestly thought that getting married would somehow bring us closer again, that it would reinforce what we had. It didn't. A few weeks ago, she sat me down and told me she was finally ready to try for kids. That conversation hit me harder than I expected. Having kids is something I've always wanted. It's never really been a question for me. After we got married, I had been the one bringing it up more often, while she would agree in theory but always seemed to push it off. Over time, I started to think she might have changed her mind, even if she didn't say it outright. So when she told me she was ready, I felt relieved, happy, maybe even a little hopeful that this was something that would bring us closer, give us a shared purpose again. We both know we're not exactly young anymore when it comes to starting a family, so we didn't waste time. We jumped straight into it. Initial screenings, fertility testing, consultations with IVF clinics. We started lining everything up as quickly as possible. We're fortunate enough to be in a position where we can explore all options if needed, including surrogacy or adoption. At the time, it felt like we were finally moving forward together again. Then last weekend happened. One of my college friends called and asked if we could meet up. It ended up being the four of us, guys I've known for years, people I trust. He was going through some relationship issues and wanted advice, so we sat around for a few hours just talking things through. But somewhere in the middle of that conversation, something shifted for me. Listening to him talk about his relationship, hearing the questions he was asking, the doubts he had, it made me start thinking about my own situation in a way I hadn't really allowed myself to before. And that's when it hit me. I'm not happy. Not in the way I should be after nearly 2 decades with someone. That realization didn't come with anger or resentment. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, almost unsettling. Because on paper, everything about my relationship looks solid. My wife and I are close. We're partners in every sense of the word. There's a kind of love there, the kind that comes from years of shared experiences, from supporting each other through highs and lows, from building a life side by side. I trust her completely. She trusts me. We don't keep secrets. We've always been there for each other when it mattered most. If you looked at us from the outside, we probably look like the kind of couple people admire. Stable, reliable, the kind of relationship that lasts. And honestly, I believe we could be good parents. We could give a child a stable, comfortable life. We could probably even maintain the appearance of a perfect relationship for the rest of our lives. But that's just it. It would be an appearance. Because there's one part of our relationship that I haven't been able to ignore anymore. One piece that's been missing for a long time now, and once I allowed myself to really acknowledge it, I couldn't unsee it. Everything else might be in place, but something fundamental is gone. The truth is, there's one major part of our relationship that's been missing for a long time now, and once I finally allowed myself to really acknowledge it, I couldn't ignore it anymore. We have almost no intimacy. And I don't just mean things have slowed down or faded a bit over time. I mean it's practically non-existent. We haven't been intimate. I don't even know how long. 8 years, maybe more. I genuinely can't remember the last time it happened, and that realization alone feels surreal. Our physical affection is minimal. She gives me a quick peck on the lips before heading out to work in the morning. Sometimes we'll hold hands when we're out together. Every now and then, she'll give me a hug. And that's about it. It wasn't always like this. In the beginning, there was passion, closeness, that natural pull toward each other. But it didn't take that many years before things started to shift. Slowly at first, then more permanently until we ended up here. I've brought it up before. More than once. Every time I did, she would acknowledge it, say she'd try to work on it. But at the same time, she was always honest about how she felt. She told me she's just not a very physically affectionate person, that she doesn't feel a strong need for that kind of connection. At one point, she even said she doesn't think she needs to be intimate faf at all to be happy for the rest of her life. That stuck with me, because for me, it's not optional. Over the years, I tried different approaches. I tried being patient. I tried communicating more. I tried giving her space. I tried initiating less, thinking maybe that would take pressure off. I even convinced myself for a while that maybe I could adapt, that maybe I didn't need that part of a relationship as much as I thought I did. Looking back, I realize I never pushed for counseling, and that was probably a mistake. Instead, I kept hoping something external would fix things. I thought getting married might reignite something between us. It didn't. Our wedding itself was simple because of COVID. No big celebration, no honeymoon. That night, instead of anything romantic, we ended up curled up on the couch watching a new show we had found, laughing together like we always do. And that moment kind of sums up our relationship perfectly. We get along. We have fun. We genuinely enjoy each other's company. We laugh a lot. We support each other through difficult times. In so many ways, it works. It's more than just friendship. But it's also not a romantic relationship anymore. Not in the way I think it's supposed to be. At some point a few years ago, I made a conscious decision to accept things as they were. I told myself that she made me happy in other ways, and that maybe this one missing piece wasn't as important as I thought. I tried to reshape my expectations to fit the reality I was living in. She's even been open about it in her own way. She's told me she doesn't have an issue with me taking care of my own needs, and she's hinted, more than once, that she would be okay if I sought physical intimacy elsewhere. Whether that meant something purely transactional or even a more ongoing arrangement, she made it clear she wouldn't see it as a betrayal. But I could never bring myself to consider that a real solution. For me, physical intimacy isn't something separate from love. It's part of it. It's how I connect with someone on a deeper level. I can't compartmentalize it or treat it as something that exists outside of the relationship. If I were to find that connection with someone else, I know myself well enough to understand what would happen next. It wouldn't stay just physical. It would turn into something more. And at that point, I wouldn't want to stay married anymore. So I never went down that path. Instead, I stayed. I adjusted. I convinced myself this was enough. Until last week. Something about that conversation with my friends, about relationships and what people want and need, it forced me to look at my own situation honestly, without the filters I had been using for years. And the truth hit me in a way it hadn't before. This isn't enough for me. As much as I care about her, as much as I respect what we've built together, I can't ignore this part of myself anymore. Physical intimacy matters to me. Not just the act itself, but what it represents, the closeness, the desire, the emotional connection that comes with it. Without that, it feels like we've slowly become something else. Friends, partners, companions, but not lovers. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a relationship where that part is missing. There's also a thought in the back of my mind that I can't fully shake. She's always said this is just who she is, that she doesn't need that kind of connection. But sometimes I wonder if that's entirely true, or if it's something specific to us. Maybe, given the chance, she could find someone who brings that side of her out in a way I never could. Maybe she deserves a relationship that feels complete to her, just like I want one that feels complete to me. I don't know. What I do know is that staying where we are doesn't feel right anymore. And as difficult as it is to admit, I think I've reached the point where I need to move on, no matter what that costs, emotionally or otherwise. I had a plan. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. I was going to talk to her Friday night. I figured that would give her the weekend to process everything, to sit with it, and hopefully start figuring out next steps. It also felt like the least disruptive option. Enough time for both of us to gather ourselves before going back to work and facing the outside world. I had spent days building up the courage to do it. After everything I had realized, everything I had been avoiding for years, I finally felt ready to say it out loud. And then tonight happened. She just got off the phone with the doctor. Her mom has been in the hospital for a while now, so we knew things weren't good. But hearing it officially still hit hard. The doctor recommended moving her into palliative care. Even though my wife doesn't have a particularly close relationship with her mom, this is still affecting her. Of course it is. She's been visiting her at least once a week while she's been in the hospital, showing up, doing what she can. And now, everything feels more final. The reality of it has settled in. And I can see it on her face. The worst part is that I know she's going to lean on me through this. That's what we've always done for each other. No matter what else was going on, when something serious happened, we showed up. We supported each other. That's one of the things we've always been good at. On top of that, I have a business trip coming up. It starts in the middle of next week and lasts about 2.5 weeks. It's not something I can easily skip. It's important, and it's far. An 8-hour flight away. She asked me, quietly, if something happens, if the worst news comes while I'm gone, would I come back early to be with her? Of course, I said yes. There wasn't even a second of hesitation in that answer. But now I'm sitting here, completely torn. My feelings are all over the place. Part of me wants to just shut all of this down, to push everything I've been thinking and feeling back into the background and go back to how things were. To be there for her through this, to support her, to go on that trip if I have to come back and just continue our life. Have kids. Build a family. Stay in this comfortable, stable existence we've built over nearly 2 decades. Live a life that isn't exactly unhappy but also isn't truly fulfilling. I know what that looks like now. It looks like settling. And for years, I've been okay with that. But the other part of me, the part that finally woke up last week, is telling me something else entirely. It's telling me that I'm not happy, that I haven't been for a long time, that if I ignore this now, I'm choosing to live the rest of my life in something that will never fully satisfy me. And I don't know if I can do that anymore. The timing of all of this feels almost cruel. I had just made up my mind. I had finally reached the point where I was ready to take the risk, to blow up the life I've built in the hope of finding something better. And then this happens. It makes me question everything. There's a part of me that can't help but wonder if this is some kind of sign, that maybe I'm making the wrong decision, that I'm supposed to stay, that this is just a moment where I need to step up and be there for her. But when I really strip everything back, the only truth I can hold on to is this. I'm not happy. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life feeling like this. I still want kids. That hasn't changed. If anything, it's become more important to me. But I've started thinking practically about that too. I can freeze my sperm. That gives me some time. It takes the immediate pressure off and gives me a bit more runway to figure things out without feeling like I'm racing against the clock. I've also thought about couples therapy. Part of me wonders if I should have tried that years ago. Maybe things would be different if I had. Maybe we wouldn't be here. But now? I don't know. I'm pessimistic about it, if I'm being honest. Not because I don't believe therapy can help, but because of how long this has been going on. We're not dealing with a recent issue. We're talking about something that's been missing for nearly a decade. And therapy takes time. That's what scares me the most. The worst-case scenario in my head is that we commit to therapy, spend a year or two trying to fix things, putting in the effort, hoping something changes, and it doesn't. We end up right back here. Maybe even worse off because we've exhausted every option and still failed. And by then, we're older. The window for having kids is smaller. The chances are lower. The stakes are higher. If we separate now, it will hurt. There will be hard feelings. It will be messy, emotionally and financially. But we would still have time. Time to rebuild. Time to find something that works better for both of us. Time to have a real chance at the kind of relationship we both deserve. At least, that's how I see it. But right now, everything feels tangled together. Her mom's situation, my trip, our history, my doubts. I thought I had clarity. Now I feel like I'm back at square one. I don't know what the right move is anymore. I don't know if I should go through with the conversation this weekend or wait until things settle down. I don't know if delaying it is the compassionate thing to do, or just another way of avoiding something I've already avoided for too long. All I know is that I feel stuck between doing what's right for her and doing what's right for me. And I don't know how to choose. So yeah, I could really use some perspective right now. Should I still tell her how I feel right now, or wait until she's through this situation with her mom? Am I being selfish for wanting to leave at a time when she needs me most? Would delaying the conversation be kinder, or just another way of avoiding the inevitable? If I stay for now, am I setting myself up for more resentment later? And how do I balance doing the right thing for her with doing what's right for my own happiness?